Hello, friends, and welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast, where we focus on optimizing the well-being and best practices of insurance and financial professionals today. On this show, our objective is to help you optimize your life, optimize your profession, and learn from other optimized advisors. I'm your host, Scott Heinela. We hope you enjoy the show. On today's episode, I sat down with Optimized Advisor Andrew Martz. Andrew is a New York native, but moved out to Los Angeles to establish and grow his practice. He recently relocated to Texas. His background comes from a boutique investment banking firm and then established a practice within the largest investment bank, JP Morgan, refining and perfecting a process of delivering best-in-class wealth management solutions. He really is a student to the craft. He is an up-and-coming advisor. His client roster ranges from business executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals from all over the country, sports and entertainment industries as well. I had a really good time chatting with him and learning more about him and his practice. Hope you enjoy. Andrew Martz, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for coming into our little studio here today.
This is quite the quote-unquote little studio. This is really impressive.
It's cozy. I enjoy the environment. I'm glad that we were able, sincerely, I was glad that we were able to make this work while you were in town.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll get into that.
I love the whole office setup.
You being quote-unquote in town.
Yeah. Making an appearance only for the Optimized Advisor podcast.
Not hardly. So yeah, Andrew Martz, Optimized Advisor. We are going to learn about you, your story, how you got into deciding you wanted to be a financial planner, and the journey and the challenges that you face in life. There's no grass growing under your feet, my friend.
What is that? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
You're not? Oh, no. Meaning you're moving and shaking. You are on the go. You're not standing and letting the grass grow. You are moving at 1,000 miles an hour. There's a lot happening in your life. You haven't heard that saying?
I haven't.
Oh my goodness. That's one. As we get to develop our relationship together, I may share upon you some sayings or two.
Some Scott
and hopefully
nuggets.
You're the same. Yeah. Well, I don't know about mine, but yeah, no grass growing under our feet. I tell people that all the time because people are always telling me, listen, in our life, gosh, it's known in our community. Like, we are known for cramming 10 pounds of poop in a 5-pound bag and trying to figure out how to make that work. And so our challenge in life is like one of our challenges. We need to slow things down and say no to more people.
I think that it's in seasons though. Like I would agree that my wife and I are similar, that we like a lot of things on the schedule. And it's only because I think there's a part of us that we have so many things that we want to do, taste, explore, experience, that we're yes people. So yeah, we're going to find a way to make it work. I'm going to find a way to come to the studio, and I want to be on the podcast. I'm going to find a way to do all of it.
The hunger for life is insatiable, isn't it?
Yes.
So how do you temper that?
In seasons. So like a lot of people will talk about balance, like how do you find work-life balance, relationship balance? And I just don't believe in balance at all. I think the whole idea that trying to find balance means that you're investing into everything equally at the same time. So Teresa and I, Teresa's my wife, Teresa and I, we always look for, is everything healthy? So there are periods where I am investing way more into my business than I am my physical health. But is everything healthy? Mm-hmm. There are times when I'm, spending more time at the gym and less time on something else. But is everything healthy? There are times when I'm spending way more time with my kids, or doing more date nights. I think it was for 4.5 years, from when we first got married, up until Maverick was almost 2, that we never missed a Friday night date night. I mean, we took a couple months off when he was a baby, but we literally had a standing Friday night date night. And we just always knew prior to children and everything that making that commitment that no matter what, because there's always a reason not to do it, we're going to have, a 2-hour dinner, we're going to go to the movies, we're going to go do something that we enjoy because we want to make sure that that's healthy.
Yeah.
So I think that we've now come to the place as you add more things to life, kids and business and other areas, there's no way to do everything at the same time because time is so limited. So we just make sure that we're making the proper investments to keep everything healthy.
Yeah, the one thing, that's a great point. And one thing, this is interesting because I learned this from someone however long ago. So for you, your priorities in life, right, are faith, family, and I'm not saying this specific order. There's no order.
You're right on so far.
Faith, family, fitness, profession. What else may be missing?
Yeah, just relationships with people.
Okay,
so I think in that family bucket, if that was
family,
to be,
friends,
right?
Yeah, maybe it's separate. But what someone had told me is like, look, there is no perfect balance of managing all of these all the time. Seasons, to your point, at one point in time, if this is a wheel and you're the spoke, you're the hub in the middle, one of these spokes is going to be definitely longer and some are going to be shorter, but you're always trying to, the wheel's never in a perfect balance. That's right. But this is my sphere. These are my priorities. And maybe there's 5, 6, or 7 of these, and some of them are going to be elongated and shortened over time. But this is where I'm always trying to just keep awareness around all of the things that I do value in life, mostly, and what I'm trying to. There's a certain accomplishments or certain needs or certain desires. And again, like let's say I'm in a growth mode within my practice. Okay, well now other things are going to maybe take a little bit of a back seat. Health would probably be the very first one, I would argue, for many people,
right? Because
I'm charging right now.
Yep.
I'm spending those extra 2-3 hours. I'm spending my weekend time to hit those targets.
So we actually, in our business, we teach this to clients and we encourage it, that in your financial plan, there are really 4 areas of your life. There's your financial life, there's your relational life, there's your physical life, and then your mental, spiritual, emotional life. And though we're only tasked with helping clients really manage that financial portion of their life, all of those other 3 areas are directly correlated and related. And the analogy we often use is those 4 areas: your finances, your health, your fitness, nutrition, your relationships, which are family, friends, coworkers, community, and then your mental, emotional, spiritual health, which is just you dealing with you. That's like 4 legs of a table. And for your life to be able to take on the weight that the world will throw on you sometimes, right?
In all those areas.
It's just any challenges, right? Unforeseen circumstances, challenges, somebody gets sick, something happens, something goes wrong in the house, and it's like, this is tough. If one of those areas is missing or is dramatically unhealthy, so one leg is shorter than the other, once weight starts being applied to the top of your table's going to fall.
Right.
But if you remove 2 of those areas, so if you have great finances and you're in top physical condition, but you have no relationship with people, your loved ones, you have nobody to share it with, you have no, mental, emotional, spiritual awareness of where you kind of exist in this world,
right,
your table's going to fall over every single time. It
right.
always leads to disaster. And so that's, for me personally, those are the areas that I look in, and then it expands upon, well, where does business kind of fit? Well, business is both relational, it's kind of falls in that financial bucket.
Yep.
There certainly are stressors that, I have to check out to make sure that I'm mentally and emotionally aware of what's going on.
Right.
But those are the 4 quadrants that I look at for me personally, and focusing on that has brought me so much personal growth, and I just believe in it so much. That's how we encourage our clients when we're designing plans.
And you have this conversation with your clients?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Initially? Or you find the time early on?
Yeah, well, so it's right in our discovery process. So, I mean, I've written out probably 100 different questions, which, I'm at the point now, I'm not reading a questionnaire when I'm meeting with people, but, you're having a conversation like we are today. and you're talking about people's families. You're talking about their backgrounds, where they're from, how did they grow up, what was their relationship with their parents, what did they teach them about money, what do they value, what are they a part of in their community? Are they a part of some sort of faith-based organization? Are they really involved in school? Do they volunteer at Girl Scouts? Like what matters?
Right.
Because all of that ultimately, from my perspective, and I'm biased because I'm a planner, all relates to your money, because money is just going to be a common denominator in all of these different things.
Right.
So then, we are having that conversation right out of the gate, but naturally, some people are more open to talking about it, some are less open to talking about it. So that develops and matures over time. I have clients for 10 plus years. We're still learning new things, and I think in many ways they're still learning new things as they're going along this journey of like attaching meaning and the why to bank accounts and investment accounts and money that they've had for years.
Yeah, it's like purpose, right? What's your purpose? Purpose both, in your personal life, but what's your purpose in your financial well-being and the future as you progress through life? What a great indicator, I would say, of the people that you come across and who ultimately become your clients. And it's interesting too, because it's a great gauge for how kind of private and personal people are. And I would presume that over time, as they become a client of yours longer and longer, those ones who are very close-lipped and shut off to it start to probably open up more. And maybe you learn more about some of those individuals than the ones who just kind of came out of the gate, you know?
Yeah,
it's
I think
an interesting psychology.
It also is, it's interesting, it's been a really big qualifier for who's going to make the right kind of fit. Because some people are just immediately kind of turned off by that process. Yeah. And, you never hear from them for a second follow-up meeting.
Why do you need to know that?
Not that it's confrontational, but it's one or two word answers.
Yeah.
And then you just, you do some work.
You can't be everything to everyone.
Right. So I think you're right that it aligns, I think I have the best clients in the world. I would hope that every advisor says that, but I think my clients are just a reflection of kind of who I am. Because I think my clients at this point in my career, at least, they believe what I believe. They value, the things that I value. And the decisions we make about money and portfolios and planning, are not just rooted in what's going to make the most financial sense, because although that's important, that's not always the right answer.
Right.
It's got to be aligned with who you are and what your purpose is and what matters to you.
So let's go back. Let's rewind in your career. How did you get into financial planning?
Yeah. So financial planning, how did I get into the financial industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start there.
So it was right out of school. And I went
This was back east.
This was back east.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to school in New Jersey, Hoboken, New Jersey, at a very engineered focused college. I thought I was going to be an engineer.
That is amazing. With the exception of one, every advisor that we have interviewed on this show graduated with the intention from college that they would be some form of an engineer. The only one that wasn't was Jason Labram, who we just talked about.
Yeah.
All the others were on a trajectory. Whether that they graduated or not, they were on a path to be an engineer of some capacity, and they found themselves here in this
I don't know
chair.
if I graduated college with the intention of being an engineer. I definitely graduated high school thinking I was going to be an engineer.
Okay, you were on the engineering path.
Yeah, every school I applied to was a technical institute of some sort.
Amazing.
And when I went to Stevens Institute of Technology, and when I landed there was a business program that was really kind of new. I was the third or fourth class to graduate from the degree program. Mm. When I actually entered my freshman year, the program wasn't accredited, which was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You guys are going to get it, right? But, so you're in this highly, technical engineering institution, and we were kind of like the degenerate kids. The business kids were like, oh,
right.
They let you into this school?
Right.
It wound up being a really phenomenal experience. But then my first job in the industry, when I graduated, I actually applied to be an analyst at a Fortune 50 firm. I had interned with them as a on their like operations team doing, I don't know if you remember like when Six Sigma and internal, metrics and scaling was all like all the rage in the early 2000s. So that was kind of like the path I was on. Applied to this internship or externship. So it was like a 3-year rotational program. I thought I was a shoo-in. I'd worked for these guys for a year and a half. And out of 70 or 80 applicants, they were picking like 3 or 4. And I didn't get an offer. And I had no other backup plan.
That was plan A, B, C, D.
That was it. I mean, I was so overconfident. Like, this is it. I did my senior thesis while I still worked for them. I was one of the only people who got paid to do my senior thesis in college.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, I'm a shoo-in. This is easy.
Right.
So I didn't get the job and kind of was scrambling in late senior year and decided, you know what, I'm going to go the finance route, and was sold by a boutique brokerage firm, basically became a stockbroker.
Okay.
And got my Series 7, got all my licenses, and just became a stock jock.
Okay.
Dialing, smiling, dialing, and looking for dollars.
Selling stocks.
That's it.
Wow.
And so that was 2006.
Is there a story or two, like a day or a client experience or something that you can reflect on during that experience and be like, all right, this is a good day, or this was a terrible, terrible situation? Either one, your pick.
Yeah.
I love these stories.
I mean, it was so wild and so out of the movies but I was also so young and inexperienced that I didn't know any different.
Right.
So I was on one of the equity desks, and basically the structure, there's, kind of a senior broker, his sales assistant, and then just a sea of, college age 20 to 23-year-old guys.
You.
And everybody just picking up the phone, finding leads and passing them over. And I remember what was probably supposed to be like the corner office of this, we're on the 42nd floor, Midtown Manhattan, probably supposed to be like some, executive suite, was the pit. And inside the pit was basically just a row of tables and chairs and phones. And there was about 40 guys in there. And everybody had, a little piece of paper with, 50, 60 leads. And you're just huddled over, just dialing, trying to like pitch. And
amongst 40 other guys.
And everybody's screaming. And you just got so numb to the noise where you're huddling under your desk, you're covering your ears, you're just trying to get somebody on the phone to listen to you for 30 seconds so you can pass it off to, a senior broker or just qualify the lead. So you would build your lead box at that point, which you're going through lead cards and, lists. We would go to the New York Public Library and print lists from like the Dun & Bradstreet databases of, we would try to get in with friends who were, some of my friends went and worked for like the big 4 accounting firms, and we'd say, hey, like, Scott, can you download your manager director directory and just like send it to me? Because you just want to call like every Ernst & Young, employee who had a managing director or up,
you just need one to listen to you that day.
Just need one.
Yeah. What a great experience, though. I mean, sales training. I don't know people get training like that anymore.
No. And it was invaluable. Because as much as people, I think sales kind of has a negative connotation to it, it's such a necessary skill, not just in what we do, in any business, in any industry.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty wild time. I remember one kind of 2 funny stories. So one, there was I won't say any names, but there was a very boisterous broker. He was a young guy. He was probably 28 or 29 at the time, but yeah. To me, he might as well have been 50.
Right.
And he was the loudest.
Why? Because he was so he was experienced. He was a mentor advisor.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
He was
senior
senior broker.
Right.
Making tons of money, stupid money.
Yeah.
And he would tell everybody how much money he would make. He would love to brag and love to tell everybody. And once a month, he would fly in a tailor from Israel, and he would have his headset on, and he'd be pitching. And this guy would set up like a little platform, maybe like a 2-foot by 2-foot platform, maybe 12 inches tall. And he would stand on there and he'd get down into his boxers pitching stocks to clients. His assistant would connect him while the tailor's measuring him out on the middle of the trading floor. So you're talking maybe 150 people. So just seas of desks and rows and things. And this guy would just be in his boxers and in his shirt pitching stocks, whatever the stock of the day was,
right,
while his tailor is measuring out his inseam and getting his new measurements and he'd tell everybody, you know, nobody can afford my tailor. $10,000 a suit, $15,000 a suit.
That is straight out of the movies.
Straight out of the movies. And this guy, I always said you could create an entire Seinfeld series around that particular broker.
Wow.
He was just that wild.
Wow.
And then another time, so this is 2006, so this is post 9/11. But 5 years post 9/11, so you know, some of the fear and anxiety about just working in the city had kind of subsided.
Right.
And there was a New York Yankees pitcher who had his pilot's license. His name is going to escape me right now. Maybe Danielle can look it up for us while we're finding it. But I think it was Corey Lidell.
Okay, yeah, she can look
Maybe
it up. New York Yankees pitcher with pilot license.
So long story short, he was flying a single-engine prop plane in Manhattan, lost control of the plane, flew it into a building, and in Midtown Manhattan, and crashed into a New York City skyscraper. So I was just outside of Grand Central, and you can see now the smoke billowing from this scene. And you can, the news is coming across all the TV ticker tape.
Plane crashes and
and I mean, now it's like panic. But senior brokers are like, keep dialing the phone. You need to get in 100 dials an hour. Like you're not leaving. So people are like uneasy and like, is this another terrorist attack? I mean, it's 2006. It's still really, really fresh.
Oh my gosh.
So it winds up being, not that, but we, took 2 or 3 hours to kind of figure it out and get the actual news reports. But that was a scary 2 or 3 hours.
Oh my God. Did you get the name of the?
Yeah, it's Corey Lindell.
It is. Okay,
yep.
Good memory. Yeah. Wow, he crashed it in. Everything okay? What happened to him? Do we know?
I want to say, did he pass? I'm pretty sure he passed away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he survived that.
So
he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So he passed.
Tragic.
So another crazy fact about that story. I don't know if this is fact actually, and I don't even know if we'll be able to fact check this. But I like the part of the story because it's a good story.
Yeah.
So apparently, you fly a single-engine prop plane into a building. What happened is the engine portion of it was so heavy, it fell, and it fell through multiple floors of this building. And as the myth goes, it landed at the foot of a woman's bed, who was still in her bed. Now, this woman, 5 years prior, was at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And it happened to be a really windy day out. And you can look this up, but one year, Garfield hit a lamppost in New York City and fell and hit a woman in her head.
And this was the woman?
Same woman.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk about the unluckiest New York City resident ever.
Yeah, I don't even know how you do. The story would be written somewhere, probably.
Yeah. I mean, again, I
love the story.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I like telling it.
So you ran your course there.
Ran my course. And, so timing, right? I lasted about 1.5 years because 1.5 years later was the financial crisis.
Of course.
And so, at that time, I'm low man on the totem pole. I'm making no money. I mean, literally, I'm losing money just from rent and eating tuna and ramen noodles every day. And then, so once I leave there, I got to find out, like, what can I do? I spent a really brief period of time with, like, an independent mutual fund company, an insurance agency, maybe 6 or 7 months, trying to knock on doors and sell life insurance policies and A-share mutual funds to like, aunts and uncles and my old school teachers.
Right.
In the middle of
everyone anyone you know, or yeah.
This was my experience. This was my quote unquote job interview. I walk in and they tell you about the firm, and everyone got like a nice little spiral notebook, and they said, all right, open the notebook, and we want you to write down 20 names of friends and family members who you think might benefit the services of a firm like ours. And I was like, okay, let me write down 20 names.
You're hired.
You're hired.
Yeah.
So I didn't last too long there. And then eventually made my way to JP Morgan Chase.
Okay.
So this was,
have you moved out west?
Nope.
No?
So I'm still in New York.
Oh, you are?
Yep. So
okay.
I'm still in New York. working at a local branch of Chase. And they are right in the middle of their merger with Washington Mutual and Bear Stearns. So internally, they sent out a application to be a part of they were calling it their merger team.
Wachovia got bought by Washington Mutual. Washington Mutual then became
Chase.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true. I think it was Wachovia first. And then Washington Mutual. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't remember the Wachovia.
Yeah, okay, so
there's a part of me that wants to say that Wachovia
Chase.
was something else, but yeah. Anyway, okay. WAMU became Chase.
Yeah.
And so internally, there were people who had been with the firm for a period of time who were then going across the country and integrating the old Washington Mutual system to the new J.P. Morgan Chase system. Mm-hmm. So I was selected for a team. You're going through months of training for this, and then I get an announcement. Hey, you're going to Hollywood, California, to work with local branches out there and change it over. So I said, this is great. You're gonna send me out to Los Angeles. I'd never been. Never been to California. I had been to California, but I'd never been to Los Angeles.
Right.
And I hadn't been there since I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
So I had no
kind of counts.
Right.
Yeah.
So they put me up at a great hotel right on Sunset Boulevard. Giving you a car, an expense account, and all this other stuff. And my job is for 2 or 3 weeks to go and work with branch employees and kind of teach them how to just functionally do everything, because there was like a transition day, and on that day, all the systems changed. Mm-hmm. All the old WAMU systems are gone. Now it's all the new Chase systems. So as I'm doing that, I was about 7 days in, and the regional manager is kind of whispering like, hey, would you ever consider relocating? I said, well, I never really thought about it, but
I don't know. Right now, Hollywood and Sunset Boulevard seems pretty cool.
This is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm kind of enjoying myself this week.
Yeah.
And he said, well, there's going to be some positions open. A lot of WAMU people didn't vibe with the Chase culture, right? Just two completely different institutions.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So long story short, I called my manager, told her, hey, I'm going to accept the position out west. And I went home from that trip, packed up all of my belongings, and 3 weeks later, I drove across the country and landed in Los Angeles. I found an apartment on Craigslist during my drive out, coordinated all of that with one of the guys who worked at the office who, became a great friend, still a great friend today. He went and looked at the apartments. He's like, all right, you just want to be in these areas, stay away from these areas. And sight unseen, I just rented an apartment. And
in your journey out west, did you just head down, go across the state, or did you take a little time to leisure and explore some parts of the country?
A little bit. So me and my best friend did it together.
Okay.
We made a couple of stops, stopped in Chicago, got some deep dish.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And then we drove pretty much straight through to Denver.
Okay.
Stayed a couple of days in Denver, went to a Broncos-Giants game.
Nice.
Giants got smoked.
Oh, they did?
Yep.
Okay.
Denver smoked us. And then skied a day, went into the mountains, skied a day.
Oh, wow.
And then continued to Vegas, did a quick stop in Vegas, played a couple of slots, threw some money down on the tables, didn't win anything memorable. And then from there went
to Hollywood.
Actually drove directly to LAX and dropped my friend off.
Who flew back?
Flew back almost the minute of. So
he didn't even hang in Hollywood with you?
Not even a second. So his
vacation was Chicago, Denver, Vegas, home.
Yeah, I was 20, we were both 23, 24 at the time. So he had very limited vacation time.
Right.
So he had a week. That was all he can get off from work was
right.
a week. And so we tried to maximize our week.
That's
and then
cool. I love those journeys, That probably was such a memorable experience for you at the time.
Yeah, it was a blast. Your best friend traveling across the country, just seeing sights, hanging out.
With everything you own in life.
In a U-Haul trailer.
Yeah. And
one thing I don't recommend, so I had like an SUV, I had a Trailblazer at the time, and I got like a U-Haul trailer. Didn't even have a tow hitch. I had to put the tow hitch on it, and right before the trip. Driving through the Rocky Mountains with a trailer, going down some of these, 19, 20,000.
Oh, yeah. No. If you're not properly equipped with all that, yeah, it got a little hairy. The trailer's
just
pushing
going
you.
back and, it's wobbling back and forth, and you think,
Totally. You become a passenger in your own vehicle.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I
Like
had
you're not in control.
zero experience in those types of driving conditions. And it wasn't bad, like it wasn't snowing or anything.
No, but this is the weight.
Just the
towing ratio.
weight and
Yeah.
just the steep mountains. I was like, oh man, I'm out over my skis here.
You
literally.
made it.
Yeah, we're here.
So then you get to Hollywood and you're in Chase and you're
Hollywood and Chase. I'm basically
We've talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, working branch at the time, and quickly they were rolling out their Chase Private Client program, which is their version of like their middle market.
Okay, so yeah, that was the beginning of the private client.
Very beginning.
So what year was this?
2000.
10?
Yeah,
11?
2000, end of 2009, 2010.
Okay.
So the beginning of 2010, I literally take over a book of business, small book of business at a branch at Chase in Hollywood, and I just start working. I start working the branch model. The whole private client thing gets introduced, and we get access to a lot of cool JP Morgan resources. But my entire business was working with bankers, mortgage officers, and business bankers. And, one client at a time, one household at a time, using those old stockbroker dialing for dollars. I just pick up the phone and dial as many people as I can, see how many people I can meet with.
So was that mostly a transaction-oriented type of relationship, or at a point in your tenure there, did it start to shift where it's like, okay, I'm moving the needle out of stock jockey as an example to we need to start doing some financial planning here?
Yeah, no. So I was really lucky. There was a guy who was working at JP Morgan at the time who his role was like internal client advisor, which basically meant he was like an internal sales coach or sales, wholesaler. And great guy, had been an advisor, had been an investment manager.
Okay.
And just really sharp. And he kind of got a hold of me right when I took over as an advisor, and he said, this is how you want to do it. Planning, you want to look at fee-based advisory model. It's going to hurt a little bit in the beginning. You're not going to make, you're going to make more money if you sell the A share, sell the commission product. It's like,
but you're building the brick house.
But you want to build, relationships with people that are going to be with you for, he's like, you're really young, just do this the right way. And he's like, you'll never look back. And I just talked to that guy last week. We're still friends. And
that's great.
It was absolutely unequivocally the right thing to do. So that's what I did from the beginning, was just really, build relationships. And again, I think when I took over there, it was probably about a $5 or $6 million book of business. So really, literally just, teardrops.
Right.
Grew it
enough to keep you busy about an hour.
If that.
Right.
Yeah, if that. But that $5 or $6 million was, probably the vast majority of it were $15,000 or $25,000 like mutual funds or annuities.
Yeah.
So every previous person who had been there and sat in that chair had been a transactional advisor.
Right.
So there was no business.
Yeah.
So I just set out on a path. Just let's make a business out of this, and understood the importance of working with the team and leveraging the people in your office with you and creating a great experience for the client.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Wow.
And then sat there until 2017, which is when I left and joined up with Weston.
Independent. Yeah. And now you're in the journey of continuing to build your book as well as acquiring practices, right?
That's right.
So would you profess that as you look forward for the next 3, 5, 10 years, that is your strategy for growth and progression, is acquisitions?
Yeah, I think it's one of them. We could probably talk growth strategies for hours, but
right.
There's an interesting dynamic just in the industry right now, and like many things, it was exposed during COVID-19. And the exposure was that we are moving more and more towards a planning-centric business model.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people, a lot of advisors who just haven't caught on to doing that. And many of them are nearing the end of their careers and approaching their own personal retirements. So one of the oppositions is it just isn't worth it. By the time I figure this out, it's not going to be worth it for me to do it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've realized is if I can build a really solid process in business that can also help these advisors who have no way to deliver a planning experience to their clients, well, there could be some really great opportunities for us to work together, create succession plans, and build more of a team-based approach where people who have 30 or 40 years have a tremendous amount of experience and knowledge that I just don't have.
Right.
So utilizing what they've seen and what they've done, and then introducing some new tools, mainly technology tools, and a very process-driven approach to help deliver just a better experience to clients. I think going forward, we've done 2 acquisitions, and there'll be, in my plan, more to come. And it's all going to be through this idea of, hey, let's help deliver a better experience to clients. Not that you're doing a bad job, but the reality is the market and clients just expect more.
And now you have, I would say, branches, if you will, not branches, that's not the technical term, but you have markets in multiple time zones through your natural client procurement, but also through practices that you have merged with.
Yeah.
Are there unique challenges or is it advantages in that? I mean, obviously technology helps that, but relationship development, just managing the different time zones.
Yeah. So I think we'll start with disadvantages. So some of the disadvantages are there is something to be said about being, local to a market. When I was in Hollywood for 12, 15 years, Hollywood is a very transient type of a place. People are in, people are out. And that's everybody, not just
they're coming and going.
Financial professionals, right?
Huh.
It's not that's not a place where a lot of people make home.
Right.
And I lived in Hollywood. When my first apartment, I lived on Hollywood Boulevard, and then Teresa and I, we bought our first home. We bought it in the Hollywood Hills, and so we were Hollywood local. That was our community.
Yeah.
But the actual community there is very, very small. Because one, it's a very touristy type of a place. So people are coming in, they're visiting. It's a place where a lot of people will come to fulfill some sort of dream that they've had, whether it's in the entertainment industry or something else. But it's also a very tough place to make it.
Yeah, and plant roots and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and the town in and of itself does not it doesn't bode with longevity, right? That's not a place necessarily that you would want to raise children or, you could, and many people do.
Right.
But I would just say probably most people, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be the norm.
Right.
So being there for as long as I was, it just leverages, you're a local, you've been here, you've been with the business owners and the families and the communities who have been there.
Yeah.
So when you go into new markets, I don't necessarily have that. I don't have hey, I've got generations who've been here, or I've been here my whole life, or hey, I went to high school or college here.
Right.
Which I think sometimes can be a huge benefit because now you have relational equity with people that you meet because there's commonality and there's things so that would be a challenge. On the other side, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity because when people are hearing the same thing from locals and people, it's all confirmation bias. So when I can come in, now I was born and raised on the East Coast. I was matured, on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. Now I live in the South and, I find myself in a lot of different areas. Mm-hmm. So I've seen a lot of different things.
Right.
And, people that I meet today, I can find commonality and relatability with because there are parts of my past that can connect with a lot of different types of people.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because the most recent practices, predominantly Colorado and also your local community as well, right? Which is Texas now.
Yep. Well, one of the practices was in Texas.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. So there was one in Denver, Colorado, which is Denver and Colorado Springs, and then also in Texas as well.
So today you're looking at like the whole world of fintech and Now, you see, for us too, it's insurtech solutions, insurance technology solutions and software. I mean, you think about the insurance world, which is, historically speaking, probably 3 years behind the technology curve in an ordinary world. And to your point, COVID compressed what was probably set forth for 36 to 60 months as a timeline down to 6 to 18 months. And they're really challenged, I would say, the last year and a half in a very low interest rate environment, working off of a spread business and compressed environment, if you will. Obviously, we have to adapt. And then you've got all these challenges and integrations with fintech and fintechs. I mean, you talk about how many options and products exist on the marketplace today and the integration of CRM and cloud and all of this stuff.
Right.
You talk about an advisor that's been in the business for 40 years. Where do they find themselves? And how well are they adapting to the demand of the environment they find themselves in today? And to your point, it's got to be very overwhelming for many.
Yeah, I think it's overwhelming for anybody. I mean, because like you said, we use this word fintech, right? Financial technology, which is a tongue-in-cheek phrase of like all the different solution providers that,
touch the financial services world.
Right. Well, either from a B2C or B2B.
Right.
And there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's only more players coming to the space. So like I try to taste everything. So I want to kind of experience and understand, but my core business is only built around, maybe 6 or 7 different pieces of technology. And then I'm always trying to understand what is coming, because I know that all this technology will be replaced at some point.
Right.
But there's a cost to that. There's a financial cost, there's a time investment. And I know that, I don't want to be in a place 30 years from now where I've been using the same 5 or 6 pieces of technology and that's just the way I do it. So you have to always continually adapt. But for advisors who haven't been utilizing this, I think it's the same, it would be the same advice I'd give to somebody if they, hadn't gotten off the couch in 4 years, right? Like just go to the gym. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do a 3-hour workout. Just go to prove to yourself that you can. Maybe
David Goggins would tell you a little different path.
Right.
But he's an exception to the normal rule, I would say.
Right.
He got off the couch after 4 years and did what? Basically ran an ultra marathon.
I mean, he runs 100 miles for fun as warm-ups.
Not what you or I would suggest the average person does. Just get off and do something. Move.
Right. Just make progress.
Yeah, make progress.
Just take the next step. And if you commit to taking that next step, right? If you've never used a CRM system, just commit to having one, because really if it's Wealthbox or Redtail or Salesforce or there's lots of great options that are out there, but just pick one.
Pick one, yeah.
Right, and we're on that an advisor call, the advisor call we do monthly.
Yep.
And I said that people are like, well, what's the best CRM system? I was like, the one that you use. Like I don't care if you use an Excel sheet, just use something.
Completely, yeah, absolutely.
Where you're putting in notes and you're keeping track of.
I've had advisors who were just acutely in tune to just using Outlook as their CRM.
Yeah.
They would log every note, every conversation in the note field with the timestamp of a date and the summary of the notes. And I mean,
and it works great.
It works great for them. They did it because they were disciplined, right? It was part of their process.
That's right.
That's the difference. And it's no different in fitness. Fitness, just kind of digressing for a minute. Many individuals think that, like, I'm going to commit to changing my life overnight. I'm going to become Jack LaLanne after a week.
Yeah.
And I go for 5 days straight and I destroy my body. And then I don't go for 5 days because I'm so sore and broken.
Yeah.
As opposed to just starting somewhere and sticking to commitment.
Mm-hmm.
The most important recipe, I would say, in our practice, as well as in our personal, like, physical well-being, is just do something.
Mm-hmm.
If it's CRM and I'm going to adopt a CRM system, okay, what are the steps that I need to adopt to make sure that I implement this as part of my practice? if I'm going to use a financial planning software, okay, what are the tools that I need to adopt so that I start integrating this? What do I need to learn? But would you say that you're a natural student?
Yeah. And I would say that I am. I'm a
Because
natural.
not everybody is.
Yeah. I think I'm a natural student, but I'm also, like, I'm very aware that I have to be. Like, that's very much on my radar. And I may not be a natural student if just left to my own devices. So
You don't think so? Because I would think that's naturally, I mean, me learning, knowing, getting to know you, I would just lend to that you're more of hungry for education.
I think that probably like most people, and I don't want to speak for most people, but I have those moments of like inspiration and motivation and excitement about whatever it may be. And in those moments, I try to make decisions that force me to follow through on what I've just decided I want to do. I was sharing with you, so this Saturday I'll get my I finished my master's program.
Congratulations.
I'll graduate. I'll be a master.
That's fulfilling. Absolutely.
And it's been a great 3-year journey. But I had toyed with the idea of, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it for years, and never pulled the trigger on submitting an application and going to school.
What made you, real quick, before you hold the thought,
Yep.
but what made you ultimately say, enough's enough, I'm doing this?
Having to force myself into a position to follow through on what I've said I've wanted to do.
Enough excuses.
Enough excuses.
I'm just doing it.
Yep. Well,
Okay.
so once I paid the money and put the application in, it's like now I got to do
I
this.
got to.
Yep.
It's real.
I've got my first class on my calendar.
Yeah.
I've got to show up. I've got to do because once I'm accountable to somebody, I know that I'm competitive enough that I have the desire to get good. I don't want to just cruise through. I don't want to get C's. Like, I want to get A's. I want to do well.
Right.
So but I need to have. I can't naturally. All of the information that I got in this program. It was a fantastic program, by the way. So I don't want to minimize it. But I could have gotten this information for free because information isn't a problem, right? I can go on to databases, find white papers, YouTube videos, and things of that nature, and get access to the information. This was just a disciplined way that forced me to do it in a certain time frame.
Right.
So I have, every class was 8 weeks, and in 8 weeks you're learning, a certain amount of material. So it forces you to read and write and watch videos and study and all that kind of stuff.
That's a great analogy because it's, for me, not to go back to fitness, but part of the reason why I like, let's say, CrossFit or an Orange Theory or it's like all I need to commit to is the fact that I'm going to do this, but I don't want to put the thought into this on what I have to specifically do. To your point, I don't want to have to come up every day with what it is that I need to learn in that given week or month.
That's right.
There's a curriculum. It's already set for me. All I need to do is completely invest in it and do the best that I can with the information or the curriculum that they're feeding to me.
That's right.
Interesting.
And I'm the same way with fitness because I can't go to the gym on a Tuesday and just, and
This is what I'm going to do today.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though I've been working out my whole life,
Totally.
I've been an athlete, I know
can.
what to do.
But it's more bandwidth.
That's right.
I want to focus my bandwidth elsewhere.
So I want a trainer to email me, these are the 9 exercises you're doing. These are this is the 30 minutes of mobility you're doing today. These are the 4 core exercises you're doing. Like, I need that. And I'll be accountable to responding and saying, I completed it.
And the NBA was like that.
Very much so.
Wow.
And people, I think, advisors would understand this. But the NBA isn't going to I'm not going to magically make more money.
Right.
I don't get a raise. It wasn't, I also don't think it's like a marketing tactic too. I don't think that letters behind my name is going to somehow attract more clients than,
No,
if I didn't have it.
No, I don't think so. But have you gained more knowledge from it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it was a very valuable experience, but I committed to it. I did put in the effort and, I went the extra mile and I wanted to get as much out of it. Yeah. And I think a part of that is I regretted not extracting everything I could have from my undergraduate degree.
Right.
I had a lot of access, a lot of opportunity. And, I was young and I was focused on sports and fraternities and having fun and being, 20 and 21. And I didn't take full advantage of what academic resources were available to me.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to this time.
So your practice today is very nicely established. You've got a good I would say, career path right ahead of you. We're pretty young, you and I. I mean, although we've been in the business for 10
Well,
plus
I'm
years.
a big fan of the Optimized Advisor podcast, and I feel like a lightweight.
Well, you've got your podcast. It's great. I love the name.
Saying,
I'm
saying the people you've had on here, the advisors you've had on here, I just think are killer. I'm like, geez.
Thank you. They're good. They're good people. First and foremost, they're good people.
Yeah.
Like you. And then second to that, hopefully they have something that we can
their
learn.
businesses are just, if you just look at metrics, it's just
they're
very
optimized
impressive.
advisors.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's one way to say it.
As well are you, you know? So as you look forward in terms of your vision of success,
Yeah.
what do you see? What does your client relationships look like? How many whatever the metrics are, you know, like what do you envision success being?
Yeah, I think there's 2 parts, right? There's the quantitative success and the qualitative success.
Absolutely.
So I think,
And you in your discovery process, I
Yep.
think you epitomize that.
yeah, as I take that away from just what does it look like for a client, what do I want the business to look like? I envision, a firm with over $1 billion in management and a team of, great people doing great work who complement each other and push each other to do better things. Because what I'd really love is to kind of make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the nature of advice changes based on how people interact, right? So generations, if we look at like baby boomers versus Gen Xers versus millennials versus, we got Gen Z coming up. Like everybody's different.
Very.
But demographically, there are a lot of similarities within generations because of what they're experiencing in the world and what, culture was at the time when they were coming of age and what the work environment was and so on and so forth. So to me, like financial principles are very timeless, right? Good financial advice is just good financial advice. That's why, everybody still reads Napoleon Hill today, right? Because even though it was written 100 years ago, it's just good financial advice.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But what the difference is the packaging and the communication of that, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell this, like the funny story of, pastors have been telling the same story for 1,000 years, right? Like these guys are all talking about the Bible, but great teachers and great preachers are putting their own communication bend on this to get the ear of what current culture is. Mm-hmm. So, as I look at like, I want the quantitative success. I want $1 billion firm and, we want to do so much in revenue and we want to hit some of those benchmarks that'll, kind of be fun as you get to experience business growth. But qualitatively, like we want to make an impact. And I'm not going to change financial principles, but my hope is that we can figure out how we can communicate that to current culture today, because new people are coming up that are going to be encountering money management for the first time.
Yeah.
So how do you instill, cash flow, budgeting, investments, retirement, the importance of, deferring gratification, all these things we know work to, somebody who can invest in Dogecoin and make $1 million in 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, that's a perfect example of just how generationally, from a boomer, forget the elder generation, Great Depression era and all that. I mean, just boomers to millennials.
Yep.
And their grasp of the digital age and what that means, it's dramatically different. They say what, a third of millennials, if not 2/3, by the time this thing's all said and done, will conduct transactions via some digital form of currency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what the current kind of expectations are. You talk to a boomer about that it's got to be less than 1%, right? That, I don't know. It's a good conversation to have, but
yeah, I don't know what the demographic breakdown of the use of specifically cryptocurrencies are and things like that, but
just the generational acceptance of I do everything in my life on a phone is millennial.
Yep.
I mean, they live it and breathe it, and they will even more as time goes on, right? And Gen Z, forget about it.
Yep.
It's a crazy thought.
And, and then how does that then translate to, what you and I are trying to convey to people each and every day, which is the importance of managing money prudently.
Yeah,
right?
fundamentals.
Just the basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
So, when you grow up on your phone and you're locked, and that becomes your entire world for information, entertainment, and everything else, that then becomes the medium in which you need to be able to communicate to people through.
Right.
Whether it's social media, whether it's texting instead of emailing, or writing, handwritten letters.
Yeah.
I remember getting into the business. It was like, write a handwritten letter. Clients will appreciate it so much, and they do.
Yeah.
And we write handwritten, birthday cards, and clients get them. They're like, wow, we don't
They
get
love
those
that.
anymore. They love that.
Yeah.
But I find that younger clients also appreciate, a text,
Totally.
a compliant text.
Yeah. It's become more a compliant text. Absolutely. It's interesting because the world has gotten, with that said, it's like human interaction is still a necessity. Isolation is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we can definitely embrace technology, we're doing more phone calling, video conferencing, webinars, digital interaction.
Mm-hmm.
It still is, to me, first of all, you can't replace face-to-face.
Right.
You and I being here right now, having this conversation together, as opposed to you being in your office in Texas and me here, it's not the same,
Right.
period. My point in that is it gets more complicated, not less. Yes, technology affords us wonderful luxuries and benefits in life, but it also makes things more cloudy, more muddy, murky, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. Little things like, do I stop sending anniversary cards and birthday cards? No. You still absolutely need to send all those. And now you also either decide which clients get digital interaction, which clients get in print, or do I do both? It's not necessarily simpler.
Right. And I think there's a part of almost the surprise or wow factor where when, a generation who would appreciate a handwritten card gets a video message via email that's personalized for the first time, and they get to view it and experience it, or the first time they do jump on
blown
a
away.
Zoom meeting, they love it. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah.
Even though it's a new experience, wow, this is really cool. Or a younger client who is predominantly email and online account opening and online account reviews and everything digital, and they get that handwritten note or that little gift basket, right, and something, a little personal touch. It's like, wow, I don't get that a lot. So
Yeah.
I think there's benefits of both, using both for, whether it's older generation, younger generation, or even communication preferences.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, they're young, so let's just text them. Don't worry about sending birthday cards because they're just going to throw them out. Well, even if they throw them out, they may appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. And at the end of the day, we're still human.
Mm-hmm.
We love gifts. We love notoriety. We appreciate being appreciated.
Yeah.
We really do. And personal touches make a real difference in life, whether that's digital or, old school.
Yep.
Now, you have a podcast and you are very in tune in social media, marketing, and all of that. How would you describe that for your practice, for your business, directly and then passively? It's all passive.
Yeah.
No?
It's all passive. So I think that digital real estate is just something that everybody needs to invest in, specifically if you're a business owner. And when I say digital real estate, the internet is just a giant land grab, but the land grab is the grab for attention. So we're all we only have so many hours in a day, and there's so many apps on our phone, and there's only so many emails or text messages that we can read. So we're all looking to get the attention of the people that we want to serve or that we do serve.
Yeah.
So the digital front, podcasts and social media and video emails and all this kind of fun stuff, is just a way to get the attention of the people that we already do or would like to serve.
Right.
And I don't ever think that digital marketing is something that is going to bring in crazy amounts of leads or is going to grow my business, or it is. I look at it predominantly as a way to simply just touch the people that we already work with.
Right.
So they can continue to hear from us and continue to hear what we believe and what we're thinking about and what our views are on the world, and also gives them a little unique insight and perspective into me personally. So hey, here's some good financial information, and here's, a picture of my wife on Mother's Day.
And a lot of that's through the podcast. A lot of that is through your, social media platforms and all of that.
That's right. Get to share a little bit about, who you are, but also what you're doing and what you believe.
And your podcast is very specific. What's it called?
It's called the Dollars and Sensibilities Podcast.
I love that. I love the name.
Thank you.
You were actually a little bit of inspiration of like, you know what, I want to do this, You guys are doing a good job.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a fun, so, Bill McBride and I do it together, and
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bill, we love you. We really started as like a creative exercise.
It's the tale of two personalities too, which is what I think makes it
fun.
Yeah, it does. Totally. Fun and unique, and it's a great dialogue and interaction.
Well, Bill and I have known each other Bill was one of the first people I met when I moved to California.
Okay.
He was an advisor. He'd been at WAMU and Chase, and
He's your Cali OG.
That's right. And he was the other Hollywood. So I was Hollywood, Central Hollywood. He was West Hollywood.
Okay.
So like together, we kind of like, our offices were 2 miles apart on Sunset Boulevard. So we didn't share an office together until about 3 years ago, even though we've known each other for a decade. Mm-hmm. And we would have this sort of banter back and forth in the office. And one day we're just like, we should record this. It's kind of pretty funny.
And it was born.
That was it.
How long have you been doing that now?
We've gotten really serious about it over the last, 9 months or so.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Has it been officially like from the very beginning, a year or?
Yeah, it's probably been over a year, but
has.
we kind of took a hiatus. Like COVID kind of screwed things up because we were doing it in the office every day.
Yeah.
And then we had to figure out how to start recording remotely, and so there was certainly a learning curve there.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of month period where we weren't able to put anything out, but we knew the only thing that mattered was consistency. Good, bad, or indifferent, just be consistent about putting things out. So every single Friday, new episode of Dollars and
So
Sensibilities.
I always like asking, wait, say that again?
Every Friday, new episodes.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
So I always like to do this. I like to look under the hood a little bit.
Okay.
So, with everything that you've got going on in life, you're obviously charging with your practice. You've acquired some books. You've got a beautiful wife. You've just relocated. You've got your involvement in your community through your church and faith and all of that. You're physically fit, handsome, all these things. How do you manage?
Those last
What
two are
does your
arguable.
schedule? What does your schedule look like? How do you define your time and shape your time? How do you find the time to do all the things? And again, nothing's perfect. We
like
know
a daily routine.
Yeah.
Like
Or your week? What's your day, week? Whatever you're willing to share. Like what
Yeah.
What principles do you live by? So where you're like, I can maintain sanity. I'm hitting on all cylinders. Like this is what it needs to be.
Yeah.
This is what works for me.
Yep. So I think that right in this season of life, it's all
seasonal.
It's all seasonal.
That's right.
I
love that.
It has been a big charge forward in business, and I think we're pretty lucky because you can work anywhere. I was working for 4 hours, out of your office, like it was like my own office.
Yep.
And you don't miss a beat. But every day I try to get at least an hour of movement in. Preferably that's first thing in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I do. I get up, I go to the gym, or I get a run in, or I jump on the Peloton or something.
If it's not the first thing, the likelihood that it happened is severely diminished.
Yeah, but I'm much better with that.
You are?
Yeah. And only because like the reality is it's as easy as putting on a pair of shoes and running for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
When we were talking on Friday, it was like, hey, like I just need to it was late in the day. The rest of the night was already going to be booked with family and dinner and kids. Clear my mind. And I need to go out for a 30, 40 minute run. Yeah. So let me just go out, do it now, and then I can check that box and be done.
Yeah.
But it is easy to make excuses, and you dilly-dally and you wait, and then it just doesn't happen. And then I'm pretty dialed in, from market open till, 3, 4, 5 hours afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's all client, it's all business related, and we are working in or on the business. I try to make a commitment to every single night have dinner with the family. I'm not perfect, but we're about 90% success rate there.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays are family days. So Saturday mornings, the kids do their activities, swim lessons,
Daddy
gymnastics.
Saturday, man.
That's it. Daddy Saturday.
Yeah.
That was a great episode, by the way.
He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for that effort.
And it's what's interesting is this season of life, we do church on Saturday night. So
us too. We found it to be amazing.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I'm big into, even though Sunday is, kind of traditional church day, we do Saturday night church. So Saturday is just,
family day.
Maybe there's a kid's birthday party or something thrown in there.
Sports, whatever it is. There's always something, yeah.
There's always something, but that's family day.
Yeah.
And then, Sunday is often spent with like other people. So we might be, that's kind of like our relational day.
Yeah.
So like one of the things that I know about my wife is she is a big quality time person. I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The 5 Love Languages.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So,
we talk a lot about that.
You got to know your significant other's love language.
Yep. So she's quality time.
Quality time.
So is Melissa.
But quality, there is qualifiers to quality time. And what I learned early in our marriage was that quality time to me did not mean the same thing as quality time to her. So quality time is just us. So if like our family and your family are hanging out and we're all doing fun activities together, she needs separate quality time. That's just us, just our family.
Yeah.
So that's what Saturdays are for us. And then Sundays are more relational time, hanging out. And then Sunday you start doing I start doing my prep for the week coming up.
Right.
In the last 3 years school season, I'm pretty segmented about, I usually have 1 or 2 classes a week, hour to hour and a half, usually 4 or 5 hours of, work, up to 10 hours that can go with that. So everything's just on the calendar.
Yeah.
I live and die by Outlook. And
if it's not on the calendar, it will not happen.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And my wife knows that too. So every social
down
thing,
to dinners,
workouts,
totally.
Everything is on the calendar. And things get messed up, so you got to be flexible. But calendaring and kind of blocking out when things are happening is huge.
Okay, one of the last few more contents of a topic of information that we'll go through. One is we always when I say interview, we survey who we feel is kind of this insightful kind of digging into who you are as a person, experiences that you've had, presenters, books, podcasts, things of that kind of shape you, that resonated with you, vacations, experiences, things like that. It's experience world. So I'm very motivated by that as just relationship building. With that, before we were talking about 3 speakers that you've had deeply connected with or has personally kind of professionally inspired you.
Yeah.
And there were 3. One, I don't know. Okay. And I said, pause, wait, tell me who this guy is. And maybe I do. A lot of times I do. I'm not the greatest with names, if you will. I never forget a face. So John Maxwell.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
So John Maxwell is, he's the leadership guru.
Okay.
Right. So one of my passions, and I would definitely define it as a passion, is leadership. So John Maxwell's kind of famous ism is that leadership is influence. That's how he defines it. Leadership's not a title. It's not your following. Like leadership is influence. So in every interaction, what happens is you're either influencing or being influenced. And so he's an author and a speaker who writes about leadership from a number of different perspectives, your family, your organization, yourself. To be a great leader, you first have to lead yourself.
Right.
Because if you're not leading yourself, how are you going to lead others?
Example, right? Lead by example.
What's
some books? Danielle, what are some of the books? Or you probably know. We would want to get his first book. Okay. He probably does a podcast. How do I access this?
Yeah, if you put in,
guru,
John
everything.
Max, he will come up.
Okay.
You don't even have to finish his last name. Books, seminars, conferences, podcasts.
Yeah. Okay.
He definitely has a faith-based tilt.
Yeah.
So it is general leadership. These are good principles for anybody, but it'll definitely have a faith-based tilt on it.
And then the other 2 are Gary Vee and David Goggins.
Yeah. So and this was like,
hard chargers. These are.
Well, this was the tough question because it's hard to pick 3.
It is. That's why I put that, because most people. So I love these questions. I can play these games. I could do this with you for a day long.
Right.
If you were on a deserted island and all you could take was 5 musicians or bands with you, who would they be? Or food? I could do that. I love these games, and I debate with you for hours over this. So 3's hard.
Yep.
5's a lot easier. You know, that's why I deliberately say, give me 3 names of people that left an impression upon you. And so, anywho, that's insight to me.
Well, I love that because it is hard, and I could debate music, food, all of it until I turn blue in the face. Gary Vaynerchuk, so Gary V.
Yeah,
I've been following Gary V for years and years and years and years.
East Coast boy too. Yeah,
East Coast boy. Very, very, very popular in social media world. Runs a marketing company. The thing that I respect about him so much is just his authenticity to who he is. If nothing else, he's probably the most authentic person who's speaking on business, leadership, marketing, sales, all of it today.
Yeah.
He's got some offhand color on language and different things like that some people may or may not like, but I think he's brilliant. And because I've been following him for so long, with different frequencies at different periods of time.
I mean, that is an interesting one for me because you are, you're very involved in the Christian community and church and all that. And so I was slightly surprised by a couple of people they are raw.
Yeah. Well, because, my faith and my beliefs don't say who I can't listen to and take good ideas
or
from.
Learn things from.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think that he, because I think at the core of it, like, while he's got a lot of like cursing and different language, like he just seems like a really good, like he genuinely cares.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's at least what I feel from him is like he's doing this because he genuinely cares. And yes, he's being successful and he's winning it, in his business, but he really has a passion for people, which just is very, very evident.
Right.
His personality is just how it's manifested. Very similar with the other one I wrote, David Goggins, who just has a passion for people.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
It's just boiling.
Yeah. But he comes off aggressive and hard.
But it's through love and passion. Yes. I believe that too.
Yep. He loves people.
The lens that which he views the world through, it is so, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a wow factor, to say the least.
I love and have the utmost respect for like our armed service men and women. And a part of it is just because I really love like the military mindset.
Yeah.
The discipline that it takes, because I was an athlete my entire life, still try to consider myself one every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it is this idea that like anything is possible, but you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
Right. It's just discipline and dedication. But then the idea of like service to something greater than yourself.
Yeah. I'm
not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for, there's a lot of reasons behind what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which is what I try to, I'm trying to build a business, and I am personally benefiting from that. Right.
Yeah.
But it's not just for money or for things. Like there's a much bigger cause behind that. So I like that idea. And when I was an athlete, I love the coaches who got in your face.
Yeah.
Like I respond really well to the, get in your face, calling you out, like pushing you harder. Not everybody responds well. I love that.
Right.
It's my favorite type of coaching.
Yeah. Well, our society needs more of that. I mean, that's the other part to me that gravitates to Goggins is the fact that you have to callous your mind, and there's more. Our society needs more of that today than less.
Right.
No question.
Right.
Yeah.
So
thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We could go on for a lot longer.
Probably could.
We'll pick this up on our episode 2.
All right. Yeah.
It was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.